I've been backtracking and following Florida a little bit. So since DeSantis was a candidate, one of the things I thought interesting about his governorship is that when the pandemic was happening, for example, he began codifying things in law as quickly as he could. And then from a general standpoint, one of the things that really captivated me about him was what stance he took against the FDA, WHO. And he said, look, not in my state. He was pretty bold about it. He said, this ain't happening in our state. So the federal government's going saying, this is what we should do. And that governor said, no, like heck. That's not happening.
Yeah.
And I felt like Iowa succumbed early and then began to work its way out. Not just my opinion from where I was sitting in all this.
Yeah.
And from that standpoint, I was a little disappointed. And I understand that there's a PowerPoint of when there's an emergency, a governor and the body of legislatures needs to decide what level of emergency and what decision do we need to make here.
Right.
And that exists in the state of Iowa. It exists in all other states at some level. And one of the things, some of the people that I hang with is like, we would really like to see somebody go, you know what? This is capped. It's done. After this many days, we're giving us this long to figure it out. And after that, we're done outside of our own state constitution. Where do we sit with the state of Iowa now? And where do you feel you would want that to be as far as not risking again a overreach of federal influence that has a negative impact, which was too long. It was too long for my company. It was too long for the public schools. I advocate for homeschooling anyway. People know that. And where would that be if you went into that? What was your feel about what happened, and what would you do if something similar happened, or would want to do with that?
Yeah, I've had that question before. So the whole COVID situation, I can have a little bit of slack. It's like I say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Right.
And so, we figured that out pretty quickly, though. The average person who was paying attention figured this out pretty quickly. But that was one of the main reasons I ran for State House, was because for medical freedom. And I saw this thing as just a violation of our constitutional rights. And of course, what you were describing there fits it pretty well. There was a lot of shutdowns that happened. And so I ran on that. Now, there were other people working when I got to the State House. There were other people working on bills to deal with that. So I kind of let them handle that. But that was one of my big issues. And so, but there was one bill that was proposed by Senator Sherman to cut back the emergency powers of the governor. And it would have cut it back so that the governor could make one proclamation of emergency and do what needed to be done. And after that, the governor cannot extend that emergency without going through the legislature. And so Senator Salmon filed that bill, and I filed the companion bill in the House, but it never got traction. But as governor, I would still sign that bill. It was in there again this session, still didn't get traction, but I would certainly work to get that established, because somewhere down the line we don't know who the governor is going to be. And
right, exactly.
And so that I think those powers need to be cut back. You just can't keep extending the emergency over and over and over, because it just wasn't right. And, and that's another one of my promises. If I make a mistake, I'm going to admit when I'm wrong. And that's one of the things I think there were big mistakes made with COVID, and there should have been an acknowledgement that, hey, we were trying to figure this out and we got it wrong, but let's fix it now. I'm sorry about that. I think people understand that. People understand that governors, no matter who you are, you're not perfect, and we're dealing with the fear and all the tactics that had been thrown at us. We now know it was a pandemic. There was something going on there designed to take our freedoms away and to get us to submit to it. So yeah, that's my position on COVID. I think that makes it pretty clear.
Right. Yeah. I think, those freedom, and I think you're right. There is a design. It is from the enemy and enters into the hearts of those who do not fear God.
Yeah. Emergencies don't cancel out our rights.
No, they don't. And see, that's the problem I had even in the state of Iowa. It's like, how long do we have to look at that and go, you know what? Well, this is going on and we didn't get it right. Well, why didn't anybody go to the Constitution?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, we're believing in it or we're not believing in it. And see that I think we've created a whole new level of citizen.